So, Yolana, it's kind of funny because the first time we met was actually at Jewish Family Service and through the No Abuse program that's run there. You and I both participated in that program in high school, a program that teaches teens about healthy relationships. Can you talk to us a little bit about the program and also what drew you to it?
Yeah. So JFSA's No Abuse program, it's a peer-to-peer education program about healthy relationships. And it really now focuses on intimate partner abuse. And we use that word lately because sometimes in high school relationships or relationships in general, people may not always use traditional terms like boyfriend or girlfriend, they use intimate partner. So we really try to be broad, but it is a theater-based program, and students act out the play, depict healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships. And Nadav and I actually both met through the advisory panel. We weren't actors. But we helped facilitate to our local peers and went into local high schools while we were high school students and taught that program. So honestly, that program single-handedly really encouraged me to continue my studies. And it really taught me a critical subject about dating violence, about abuse. And it gave me a passion for advocacy and activism throughout college and now throughout my profession, which we'll talk a little bit more. But that movement right now too, we talk a lot about the Me Too movement that's happening right now, and I really feel like No Abuse is still such an impactful program to this community, and it's what the Jewish community is doing to have that conversation about sexual assault and the Me Too movement that's on the rise right now. So, what drove you to join No Abuse at the time?
So, No Abuse spoke to issues that unfortunately I was very aware of from a young age. My family has personally been subject to a lot of the problems that No Abuse teaches you how to address and how to really cope with. Unfortunately, my grandmother grew up in Iraq in a time that it was very dangerous to be a Jew in Iraq. And so she eventually fled to Israel and lived in the Ma'abarot, or the refugee camps for Jews of Middle Eastern descent. While she was there, she met my grandfather, who was a Jew from Jerusalem, an Arabic-speaking Jew from Jerusalem. And what differentiated him was that he was a Middle Eastern Jew, but he was not in the Ma'abarot, which was the typical experience. And so this already created a power and control dynamic that we learned so much about in No Abuse that was very unhealthy. And so this was kind of the home that my father and his sister grew up in. At the time, social services in Israel were not like we have here in America today. And so even though my grandmother was awarded both my parent and my father and my aunt, he was not actually able to leave that house until he was 8. And once he did leave that house, he went to live with my step-grandfather and my grandmother, but when he was 12 or 13 years old, his stepfather was unfortunately killed in a PLO terrorist attack. And so instead of being able to celebrate his bar mitzvah, he sat Shiva. And so this really drew me to the No Abuse program, and I think it speaks to why JFSA's domestic violence service and No Abuse program is so critical, because I hesitated to even bring this story here today because it's one thing to talk about things that were done to your family, and it's a whole other dynamic to say, here's the trauma that happened within our family. And so we have to appreciate that so much, especially in the work that we do today with clients coming to us and talking about these issues. And I think it also makes me very proud of the way that JFSA and JFSA's behavioral health really addresses client issues, because it's very rare that a client comes to us and says, here's my problem, how do I fix it? It's much more frequently, here's my situation, where do I go from here? And so I think really my experience is what drove me to seek answers, and JFSA really provides the tools that the Cleveland Jewish community needs to help those suffering through some of these very difficult issues. And so, this is kind of my family background, but I know here in Jewish Cleveland, we have such a diverse, community. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what it was like in your family growing up.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for sharing that story. It's really, really special that you were able to share it today, and I know that's a very personal story for your family. But I grew up actually in an interfaith family. My dad's not Jewish, but has always been so excited to learn about Judaism. He actually went to parent-child Hebrew school with me and learned Hebrew every single Sunday. But through BBYO and No View specifically, I feel like that's when my Jewish identity really formed. It was in high school, and those two programs really kind of came together at the same time, and both provided these leadership opportunities, this space for discussion, and this opportunity for service. And that really I've really brought that with me, and I think also it helped with public speaking. Anybody in BBYO could maybe attest to that. But also I went on Onward Israel, like our first guest. I went in 2014, and that was during Operation Protective Edge. So that was a really, really eye-opening time to be in Israel. And there definitely was trauma associated with that. It was a pretty terrifying environment. And I was actually working in a preschool in Tel Aviv, and we were supporting children through that experience and taking them to the bomb shelter. But we felt so taken care of by the Federation and felt so safe. And everyone on my program stayed there and really made that commitment to Israel. So I feel like that all of those experiences together have really shaped my Jewish identity and really is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, so I also was very involved in the Cleveland Jewish community. I am something that I like to call a Federation Jew, just because of how many programs that I've been involved with have been supported by Federation. So even starting from a very young age, I went to Mandel Jewish Day School for 12 years, and that really provided me with a sense of pride, and also the idea that being Jewish is fun, and being able to celebrate that culture really instills that in your DNA. I also, in high school, participated in IC Next, which which takes actually teenagers to Israel and teaches them how to advocate for Israel. And this actually proved very crucial for me, because when I went to college, I was actually able to become president of Ohio State's pro-Israel organization, and we were able to defeat a BDS resolution that was introduced in our student government. So the knowledge I learned there of how to learn, how to look at issues with nuance and how to advocate for Israel was very pertinent. I also participated in the Saltzman Youth Panel, which is a program here with the Federation that allows high schoolers to look at a pool of money that's been donated by a generous donor and see all the different needs that need to be met and how should we allocate those dollars. And so that led me to appreciate, first of all, the diversity of services offered here in Cleveland, but also how difficult it can be to divide up those dollars. And then finally, in college, I participated in Cleveland Hillel's internship program, and I was actually a Federation intern, which was a great experience. I got to see how the kosher sausage was made, and really see how tremendous and what a great job Federation does interacting with the broader community.
So you really came full circle. And after all these years, it's funny that we're colleagues now. We actually have offices next door to each other where we work at JFSA. So really, Nadav, what do you think drew you initially to work at JFSA and work in the Strengthening Families Department?
Yeah, so for me, I personally work in two of Jewish Family Services programs. I work in the Forward Focus program, which helps clients deal with financial literacy. The program was actually born from the Federation Task Force on Financial issues, because they were saying that it's so pertinent in the Jewish community. And this really, this program allows me to support people for short-term financial assistance, really to get back on their feet. And I'm also participating in the Hebrew Shelter Home. And so Hebrew Shelter Home is a program that is a homeless shelter for women in need. And so when I think about what I'm able to do now, and also Federation's campaign theme this year, the Impact of Together, Jewish Family Service really puts together has such a diverse array of types of programs that they do, and we all are able to combine and help address each individual issue. And so it's really fulfilling to be able to see someone who's coming in their moment of need, and we're really able to step up and fulfill each issue that needs to be addressed.